Ladies and gentlemen,
fantastic.
Coming to us from the Big Ten Network, college basketball analyst Timmy Doyle. He's up to the devil's business, is he? What's up, Tim?
Artie, how you doing, my man? How's Stover doing over there?
Brent is one of my favorite people on the planet. We've become fast friends, and he's doing great, and he highly recommended you, and we're looking forward to a quick several-minute, witty yet crisp conversation about basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I know you like to dabble a little bit. You got a tough beat story involving a basketball game?
Are you kidding me? Oh, my God. I would have went to community college if it wasn't for the 1989 tournament. If it wasn't for Michigan and that phantom foul against Seton Hall, I had the money line. I don't even want to get into it.
Andrew Gaze, one of the few guys that had gray hair playing basketball in college.
Andrew Gaze was 27 years old in 1989, which means, Andrew Gaze is like 80 now. And he was on that 89 Seton Hall team. Real quick, before we get into this year, could you pick, if you had to, the single greatest college basketball game you ever saw?
Yeah, it had to be Leitner's shot, right, against Kentucky. Just because
hard to beat that one. Yeah.
You know, and that was like, who was it, 92 or whatever? I remember watching.
92, yeah, 92.
And you just wonder why they weren't guarding the ball out of bounds. And I don't think anybody at that time knew how good Grant Hill was going to be. I don't think he ever reached his full potential in the NBA.
I agree.
Leitner was a guy like you hated him because he looked like he should be in like school ties.
Oh,
like,
yeah, he was a Duke player you loved to hate. He was like Niedermeyer. He was like the villain in a college comedy. You're right.
But in that game, you go back and look at that game. He was 10 for 10 from the field,
unbelievable,
10 for 10 from the line. He missed a shot the whole game, and then made probably the greatest shot in my mind in college basketball.
Well, people forget that's for people who aren't, really big fans of college hoops. A great trivia question: who threw that baseball touchdown pass from out of bounds underneath the opposite net? And that was Grant Hill. Grant Hill just tossed it up, and late in order. I remember thinking of my buddies how many hot chicks on the Duke campus Leitner just had with ease in the following weeks, and that just made me madder and madder. But I'll tell you, I mentioned that Michigan Seton Hall game in '89. What a game, man, huh? That was tough.
Well, you look back at that Michigan team, Glenn Rice and Terry Mills. Seton Hall, that was just a strike. Johnny Morton and those teams. I was a kid then, and what PJ was able to do with the beard. How about PJ? Doesn't he look the same? Like years later?
He really does. PJ Carlison was a guy, who doesn't seem to age, and you'd think he would with that stress. Like Raleigh Massimino's a guy I assume hasn't aged properly.
No, he looked bad when he was young.
Riley Massimino looks like all my uncles at the third hour of a wedding. Like, the shirt tails out, the hair's all over the place. There's cannoli cream all over the vest. No, but it's now Brent, obviously going to be a crazy year in the tournament. You're predicting talk to Timmy. Tell him what some of your crazy predictions are.
All right, Tim, here's what I had to say. 20 different teams can win the national title. That's my first prediction. 20. That's not really a prediction. I'm just making a statement. My prediction is that this is the year that a 16 beats a 1 seed.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, I mean, you can say it. I mean, you can predict anything you want. That's the nice job about our job, Artie. They don't really go back and say you were wrong and fire you. So yeah, I mean, Brad, you can say anything you want. So, I actually think there's only 5 teams that can win it, and so 20 I think seems aggressive. I think Indiana, Duke, Florida, Kansas, Louisville. That's kind of my group that I think can win it. But you're right. There's a lot of parity in college basketball, and that's why. And that's really because guys go one and done and they're off. I mean, a guy like Leitner, he wouldn't have stuck around in college. He would have been off to the NBA after probably his sophomore year.
Right.
To think like a guy like Pat Ewing went to college for 4 years is nuts. It's like I think that's what college basketball is missing. I don't know how you can do it because it's tough to say, especially kids from grow up with nothing, to say you can't go make a living somewhere. So it's a tough conversation, but I think it hurts the college game, and I think it affects the pro game in a negative way as well with guys leaving early.
Well, not a living. You're talking about $90 million from a sneaker company alone. I mean, that's not a living. That's like, how do you say? I mean, come on, don't go to college, buy a college.
Absolutely. When I grew up on Long Island, and I remember going in to pick up Quincy Doobie, who was a first-round pick,
right,
in the NBA. He went to Rutgers. He ended up being. And we picked him up, and there was a sheet on his door. And I was like, dude, what the hell is that? And he was like, oh, man, we lost the door like 2 weeks ago. I was like, you have no door? I was like, dude, you live in Bed-Stuy. Bed-Stuy.
Exactly.
You have it at the door in a couple of weeks. I'm like, oh my God.
Tell a kid who lives in Bed-Stuy with a sheet for a door that he can't make. He should get another 2 years of biology instead of $90 million.
No, absolutely. But Artie, it doesn't make any sense for them to go 1 year because all you got to do is pass one semester where you could be taking, gym classes or whatever. So it just doesn't make any sense. Either let them go or let them stay and get somewhere near a degree where at least when they finish playing, the kids are going and, at least they have someone to maybe get a degree. Because guys don't realize, and I played in the Big East and I played in the Big Ten, and everybody, and not 80%, not 30%, every single guy thinks they're going to the NBA.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, you average like 4 in Minnesota. I'm like, you ain't going to the NBA. They're like, man, you're just racist. Well, I'm not racist.
No, I mean, you're realist. I mean, come on. It's a lot of white kids ain't going anywhere either. I mean, this is about athletes. It's not about it. It's crazy. I got to tell you what. You brought up an excellent point that Patrick Ewing, as dominant as he was, says a lot about his character. He was so dominant. He played 4 years. He stayed the whole 4 years. Says a lot about the great John Thompson, too, though, right?
Says a lot.
Right. You know who his high school coach was? Unfortunately, it was my college coach for a year. It was Mike Jarvis. Remember, he used to look like he could be in Star Trek with the beard and he had the goatee. When he coached me, he just had the goatee. But when he was at George Washington, he had the hair that went into the Star Trek beard. Right. He was actually Pat Ewing's high school coach. Yeah, well, it shows a lot about Patrick's character and John Thompson as a man to get him to stay. As dominant as he was, talk about the money he could have got coming out after, he won it all. He won it all as a junior, right? Yeah,
and as sophomore.
You guys would know this better than I would because that was, I was born in 1982. Why did those guys stay in college so long?
Different time, I guess, but right? I mean, it was like but Ewing won after his junior year. He won the whole thing. Right. They beat Houston, and I mean, come on. After that, he could have just come right out and start living that lifestyle. And look, after his let's be honest, after his freshman year, I think so too, right?
Yeah, Brian? Yeah, and that's why the NBA was so much better. I mean, they definitely affect each other. But Tim, let's make the argument for because it's that way in college basketball right now, it opens it up for so many teams, and all these mid-majors and smaller schools can actually make some serious noise in the tournament.
Right. 100%. So that's why your prediction, Brent, of 16 beating a 1 this year, I mean, I'm not going to say it's completely out of this world. I mean, I don't personally think it's going to happen, but you're right. And those lesser schools, the Ionas of the world, the Davidsons of the world that are already in the tournament, you look at their roster and it's like junior, senior, senior, where you look at the big-time schools, it's all freshmen and sophomores, and Cody Zeller's a sophomore, and Trey Burke's a sophomore. So they're just built differently. So you're right. Experience can trump talent. I don't think it does, maybe 2 out of 10 times, but you're right. The different schools are built differently. The
Big East tournament, I was listening to some of the Seton Hall-Syracuse game today. Seton Hall, because of three-pointers, was ahead by 10 in the first half, and they stuck around for a while, ended up losing by 12, but it hammered home to me that the Big East will never be the same, right? I mean, it's going to be just a legendary, iconic conference, not the same ever. Your thoughts?
No, it's sad. And I went to St. John's. I grew up a St. John's fan. I know you grew up in Jersey, and you were probably a Seton Hall guy.
I rooted for Seton Hall. Yeah, I did.
So, and yeah, it's unfortunate, but the college sports now isn't about the rivalry, and that's what I think we all grew up on. Now it's about the cash, and Brent and I work in college sports, and it's just crazy. I don't think any of us could have envisioned college sports taking off like this. And I'll be honest, I think sports is more popular now than ever because television is so bad. I mean, TV is so bad that people just watch sports because they're like, man, there's nothing else on. Let's put on freaking the game.
Absolutely. What I want to watch, what would you rather watch as a guy who's even a casual sports fan? An Iona Rice game at 2 a.m. or the repeat of American Pickers?
I mean, I don't know how I watched The Bachelor or whatever you call it on Monday. I mean, it was just like, honestly, I had to keep all sharp objects away from myself for 18 minutes. It was so bad.
Yeah.
But But meanwhile, I watch it, and I'm saying this, and you're a radio host, you know this. I watch it, so when I talk to other people, at least I know what I'm talking about, because that's what everybody's talking about.
No, I like to keep sharp objects next to me, which is why Brent's here. Brent, real quick, final question for Tim.
I have a final question. It's off the grid on basketball. You and Tim Doyle already have a similarity. Since 1941,
right.
You're both huge baseball fans. Since 41, you can name every
49.
Since 1949, every team that won the World Series and the team they beat in the World Series.
Both teams in the series and who won? Yeah.
Well, the last couple of summers, I used to live in Chicago up until 6 months ago. Tim Doyle and I became good buddies, and the apartment complex I lived in, we had a rooftop pool up on the 43rd floor.
Hold on, it was like a mini Melrose Place.
It
sounds like a lot of ass. A lot of ass.
It was unbelievable. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it was like you were at a Vegas pool.
Okay.
I mean, it was standing room only.